next thing is going to be doing a couple of cutouts for lighting. And I got these little LED lights off Amazon. There's a link to these in the video description. So these I want to place right about here. So I'll measure how far that is from the trim kit, and then we can get that equal on both sides. Another great tool for measuring accurately that I decided to invest in is a digital caliper. I think it's really worth it because something like this can be a little bit difficult, by eye to get a measurement. So, got a link to a digital caliper in the video description if you're interested. Alright, so we got 2.15 on the diameter here. And this is a nice caliper because you can switch units, so 54.78 millimeters, 2 5/30 seconds of an inch. Alright, so we're going to go with 55 millimeters on here, so so I just went with 56. It's a little easier to divide by 2 and measure out. And there's plenty of extra here with this trim lip. Alright, so we're all set. We'll go ahead and do a few more of those and connect the dots, and then we'll cut it out. Okay, another tool I highly recommend getting is a compass. They're inexpensive and they're super helpful when you're trying to trace circular cutouts. This one, there'll be a link to this in the video description. It's got a point for the center, and then it's got a lead, pencil lead here, so you can trace out the circle. So go ahead and do that. All right. Nice thing is pencil shows up on this headliner just fine. All right, now we've got our circle trace, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it out. And just take your time and go slow. Don't get erratic with the knife. You don't want to go off and cut the fabric in an unintended area. Alright, we got the first hole cut out. I'm going to go ahead and do a test fit here. The way these work is you have these springs, so I'm going to pull back on these springs, put it through, and then release the springs. Nice clean fit. And it's on there really secure. See on the back side. Alright, so we're ready to cut the holes for the lights on the large panel towards the front of the van. And the way I'm doing this is just with a punch tool here. I located where I'd like the lights. In this case, this will be directly over the galley kitchen. So I'm going to put one right here, and I measured here, this is 5 3/4 over. Go ahead and punch through there. And then measuring the same, 5 3/4 over, we can make a mark here and just check that it's be level between those two marks. And we can go ahead and punch through here as well. That'll give us our center points on the flip side. All right, we're ready to wire up the lights on the front passenger headliner. First thing I'm going to be doing is using these heat shrink butt connectors to tie together these front two lights. Then we'll tie those in with the other two lights and then route it out to where the terminal block is going to be that has the DC distribution. Make sure after you crimp, you give it a good tug to make sure it's secure in the slot. You don't want those coming loose later down the road. All right, we got the butt connectors on the front two lights, so now I'm just going to run some red and black from each of these down to the bottom so we can tie them all together with the two lights down there. Those are all set. Let's heat shrink them. Then we'll kind of tie these together here, run them down, and then connect to the ones on the bottom. All right, so I've got the wires from both of these lights coming together, and these are 16 gauge wires, and then I'm going to combine the positives together using a slightly larger butt connector, heat shrink, and then same here with the ground. Okay, and that way we just have to run one red and one black down to the bottom, where we'll then join it with the others similarly. All right, we got the wiring done. Just to give you a quick overview, each of these LED lights, I had to use some heat shrink butt connectors to connect it to more 16 gauge wire here. These 16 gauge wires for this light come in with the 16 gauge wires from this light, and I connect the reds and the blacks each together into one of these. It's a little bit larger of a butt connector, more for like a 14 gauge wire. And so you can get two 16 gauge into this. And then the output of that is we'll just have one red and one black coming down. And then down here, same thing. So we have this light coming in red and black, this light coming in red and black. Those two can be tied together into one end of a larger butt connector. And then on the other end, I take the red and black that are coming down here, and I also take a red and black that go out to the DC distribution, and I tie those into the other end, and then I crimp that down. So what that does is connects everything together, and then on the output we have one red and one black going to our DC distribution. I did use some of these little sticky zip tie holders with also some protective sheathing here all the way up, and I use another one here. Yeah, so everything looks good, and I've tested it out with a connection to the battery over there, and everything lights up, so we're good to go.